Israeli ties. I mean, Mueller has become a prosecution in search of a crime.
Right.
And he's, this is really way off target. The Russian collusion, which was the original narrative, has clearly been shown not to exist. There's no Russian collusion on Donald Trump's part whatsoever. And all Mueller could indict were some 13 Russians that will not be extradited to face trial. And it turns out that the companies he indicted, the Russian companies, defended themselves in court and have already proved that Mueller indicted one company that didn't exist at the time that Mueller said crimes were committed. So Mueller has completely embarrassed himself again as the corrupt prosecutor he is. He's a deep state asset. He's worth $18 million after he participated in the Uranium One fix by keeping secret the uranium bribery scheme. He got handed this cushy job with a Washington law firm, making $3.5 million a year. So Mueller is just part of the same corrupt deep state that all the rest of them are. And it's a disgrace. It needs to come to an end. That's the first phase. Then Trump is going to counterattack. And the counterattack, I think, is going to be massive, and that's what I'm preparing for. But first, we got to end the Mueller investigation. Nothing's going to happen until Mueller's gone. That's, I think, the key issue we're facing right now.
Wow, that's fascinating, because right now, America, in terms of how far we've strayed from the founding fathers, how far, if George Washington, Thomas Jefferson saw America in its current state with open socialists, running for presidency like Bernie Sanders, whom Alex Jones epically confronted in the airport with his Android phone. It was absolutely hilarious to see.
I know. I watched it last night too. It was hilarious.
Give you a
Bernie
good
Sanders couldn't. He was running away. I mean, he was scared.
Right. He was
like
sprinting
like
away.
Scared rabbit. Scared rabbit losing his hair.
But I digress. But you have America has descended and fallen so far after straying from the Judeo-Christian roots and the principles of our founding fathers that allowed us to protect the individual rights of peoples and allowed us to be free from the tyranny of centralized and statist power. I mean, really, look at what happened to the left. It's really become a cult. They call Christianity, evangelical Christians. They call us a cult. They call anybody who on the right or on the cult, as a cult. They put everybody who disagrees with them on the SPLC hate watch list, which they've done also to us. I mean, anybody who speaks against them, they literally want to shut down, censor, and take off the internet. They're complete totalitarian control freaks.
And the fundamental view of the left is godless. I mean, they'd rather embrace Lucifer than God. They're happy with embracing Lucifer. It doesn't cause them any trouble at all. We're happy to have, Satan worshiping ceremonies in the public schools. That would be okay with the hard left. But bring Jesus Christ into the public schools and they go berserk. I mean, anybody believing in Jesus Christ, anybody wanting to establish the Bible, anyone believing in the Second Amendment, we were all doomed to, be killed or go to federal prison. That's under the intolerant left. And whoever thought the country would come to this? I mean, this is, I think, the extent of a civil war beginning, because you've got this hard left Marxist group that have totally taken over the Democratic Party, and are telling the millennials they'll give them free everything, just provided they don't believe in Jesus Christ. That's the only caveat. And even in 1948, when the Dixiecrats walked out of the Democratic National Convention, Strom Thurmond, they were segregationists. It was the Democratic Party. It was really President Eisenhower who introduced the civil rights legislation. But tell that today, Martin Luther King was a Republican.
Yes,
These are the issues that the modern generation has no memory of or no idea of, and they accept the Democratic Party lies.
Ooh, yes.
And this is, the Democrats want to put everybody on a government-controlled reservation, and there'll be no freedoms, there'll be no First Amendment, there'll be no Second Amendment, there'll be no Fourth Amendment protecting your rights in a legal search and seizure, because they'll want the intelligence communities to know everything you do, so you can be put in thought reform or killed if you're a conservative or believe in Jesus Christ.
Well, look at the left's Lord and Savior, Kim Jong-un, whom they worship and praise on every single Reuters and BBC article, New York Times article. It's out of this world crazy.
And they hate the fact that Donald Trump has finally reached across to Kim Jong-un and said, you know, we've got 3 carrier groups here parked offshore, or would you rather talk? And finally he decided he'd rather talk. You know, nobody, so far we've had the CIA and the Democratic Party funding Kim Jong-un and his predecessors to develop nuclear weapons. And he should have, you know, with all the CIA blessing and all the governments from, you know, Bill Clinton on, Jimmy Carter, the agreed upon framework that he came up with in the Clinton administration, they gave the nuclear fuel to North Korea and did nothing when North Korea began developing weapons. The same in Iran with John Kerry. You know, John Kerry never saw an enemy of the United States that he didn't love. He's always loved the enemies of the United States.
Golly.
And you know, that's what we have in the Democratic Party right now. It's an anti-American group that that in the 50s, you know, you can go back to get the congressional hearings. In the 50s, Communist Party said it was going to take over the Democratic Party, and it was going to subvert America from within. That was the announced strategy in the 1950s in Hawaii, and it has been the plan of the Democratic Party ever since. And
well, it's
it
interesting.
Finally succeeded.
It's like become the party of insanity. Look at their incredible, their hardcore radical subjectivism, which they're trying to subject all Americans to, that if you believe you're this gender, you can choose your gender, and enforcing that and making you a transphobe and having that prosecuted by law and having you be a homophobe or a xenophobe, whatever it is. It's the absolute, you know, the Bible says we fight not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and rulers of the darkness of this earth and spiritual wickedness in high places. And really, when you see these, they are animated by the force of evil. They are animated by the force of Satan, Lucifer, the evil force in the universe that seeks to destroy the gifts that God had given: sovereignty, freedom, ability for us to be responsible and to seek to choose Him. And they know it's like my father called it political Satanism, where he said that whenever communism, socialism, any of these leftist, you know, centralized governmental forms of politics emerge, they actually create the environment to protect real Satanism, which then traffics pedophile rings and sex trafficking, and of course gets into actual satanic rituals where they kill and eat children. These kind of very ancient rituals, which the Bible of course warns against, with Baal worship, with Ashtaroth worship, etc. But these are very ancient rituals that have existed and continue to exist. And we see the connection in the WikiLeaks with Hillary Clinton being connected to Marina Abramovich and all this Luciferian circles and these spirit cookings and the blood and semen rituals that they were doing. All this insanity that was happening. You see this direct connection to ancient Baal, Ashtaroth, and Luciferian worship.
Well, I mean, it's pervaded Silicon Valley. If you've been watching lately in terms of my postings, both on Twitter and Gab, I've been quoting the Silicon Valley Insider Anonymous, who has been describing the satanic rituals, the killing of babies, the eating of the babies, the actual satanic rituals, and they pervade in Silicon Valley and in Hollywood, and the pedophilia and the child trafficking, which I think is just becoming to light, is really the underbelly of the hard left. Because they do embrace the Satanism.
Look what happened to Tommy Robinson. He was trying to expose the pedophile rings, and then he got thrown in prison. And then there's a censorship blackout with the media in the UK.
Well, we just found out in the release of some of these papers from this guy Epstein, who had this island, the Lolita Island, and the pedophiles, where he's bringing. Well, he evidently cut a deal with the FBI to give them information and to get a light prison sentence. He got a light, and the deal was made with Robert Mueller.
Wow.
Special prosecutor.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Deal. And the deal was a Clinton cover-up deal. The Clinton were covered up in that deal. Because he got all the information from Epstein and nothing was done with it. I mean, Mueller's been a Clinton cover-up working on the Epstein stuff. I mean, it's pretty shocking.
Incredible. We know that Bill Clinton has been on that island multiple times. Hillary Clinton on at least 6 occasions. Bill Clinton in the 20s, I believe. I mean, that is an island that is, harvesting and trafficking young children to, the super elite. And we see this pattern with the royalty. We see this in even history, continuing all throughout the pagan civilizations. It is only this Judeo-Christian civilization where Jesus said himself that he who harms the least of these should be a millstone tied around the neck and be thrown in the sea. He advocated the capital punishment for the pedophilia and the destruction of innocence and youth.
I mean, how anybody could do this to children is beyond my comprehension.